Hello and welcome to your, I don't even know, number we're on, 14th Django tutorial, Rebuilding Master Code Online. In this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and build the lesson detail page. Now, I want you guys to pay close attention because I'm going to show you why I hate class-based views. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is set up our URL so you guys know what I'm going for, what I'm looking for, and how we're going to set this up. Alright, so let's go to our urls.py, and right here we have our tutorial series detail view. Let's go ahead and copy this. We're going to copy that and come down one and paste it in here. Alright, now you see how we have series and then slug? Well, I kind of want our tutorial to go series, tutorial series, and then the slug of the lesson. That kind of gives steps, because we go to our tutorial series first and then we go to our lesson. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add in tutorial series as a URL argument. Alright, so in here, we're going to go ahead and put parentheses, and let's just go ahead and put our / so we don't forget that. Question mark P, alright, so this is kind of like, question mark P kind of indicates what our variable, we're going to have a variable. So then we're going to do, is that greater than? Greater than? Yeah. So tutorial underscore series, alright, and then the lesson, symbol. I may have them backwards, but you get what I'm saying. You can see my screen. And then hyphen / W, and then close out your square brackets. Alright, and then we need a plus. That all looks right. Okay, so let's go ahead and change this to lesson detail view. So what we're going to do first is we're going to write, you're going to get a warning here because we haven't created it yet. But anyhow, lesson detail view, we're going to create a class-based view first, and I'm going to show you how to create the function-based view. And you're going to say, why the hell would I use a class-based view? So let's go ahead and do lesson detail here. Go back to your models real quick, because I noticed this earlier. No, we did it. Alright, we did it. Or maybe I did it. But if you didn't do it, down here in your lessons, it should be tutorials and then lesson detail. Alright? I didn't think I did that, but we did. Alright, so in your views, let's go ahead and create a new class here. Down to, and then we're going to do class lesson detail view. And it's going to take detail view as a argument. Alright, so it's a generic detail view. Then our model obviously is going to be lesson. Alright, then we're going to come down here. We're going to create a function. It's called getObject. And what we're going to do is go ahead and get the object. We're going to get tutorial series object and our lesson object. Alright, so define get underscore object, and then self, and then tutorial series. And the reason why we're putting these arguments in is because in our URLs we have tutorial series and slug. So we need some way to handle those arguments. Alright, so, oops, I hit the wrong button. So the next thing we need to get is our tutorial series that we're currently in. So how do we do that? We'll do a tutorial series as our variable, and then we're going to say tutorial series, the model, dot objects dot filter. Alright, so we're going to filter through, and we're going to say slug is equal to tutorial series. Then we'll just let's see, we might need first here. We'll come back and test that. Then object, and this is going to be our lesson. So we're going to get object 404. Then we're going to say lesson, and then comma. Then we're going to say tutorial series, and we're going to take this one and set it equal to tutorial series, because if you remember correctly, in our models we have in lesson, we have tutorial series. Alright, so we want to get the correct tutorial series. And back to our views, and we're going to do comma slug, and this is a slug for the lesson right here. Alright, cool. Now we're going to return, let's get over here, and we're going to return self.render to response context. Alright. And then we're going to come down and, whoops, not that. We're going to return object. Got ahead of myself. I thought we were on the next function. Alright, so our next function is going to be, we're going to define get, and then it's going to be self, comma, request, because we need to handle the request, tutorial series, and slug again. And then we're going to do self.object equal to self.getObject, and it's going to be tutorial series and slug. And then we're going to do context, so we need some way to display it. So self.object, oops, not dot, oops, self.get context data object is equal to self.object. So we kind of saw that up. Where do we see that? Up here, our context, right? So self.object, we've seen that before. And then we're going to do our return self dot render to response, and this is where we return our context. Alright, cool. Next thing we need to do before we actually try to access our page here is we need to create a template. So in your tutorial, in templates, in tutorials, go ahead and create a new file, and we're going to call this lesson underscore detail.html. And let's just go ahead and set this up real quick, just so it returns something. Extends and a string base.html and curly braces. Alright, then we're just going to do block content, curly braces. Oops. I hate how PyCharm always does that. And block. And curly braces, and it kicks back too. Alright, so in here we got object, and I think our lesson title, it is title. So we're just going to do two curly braces, and we're going to do object.lesson. Save that. Now, in your, make sure your server's running. Go to your browser, and up here we're going to do introduction to Python, and now we need to find out what the lesson was called for that. I think introduction to Python. Lesson is introduction to Python. So we're just going to repeat this right here so you can copy it, and we're going to paste that in. Hopefully with no errors. Now the question is to display. Let's just put a div class. I think row will do it in here. No, it's going to be container because it might be up under the menu. So hold on. Let's see if this works. No, it didn't work. Well, let's try container. Like I said, I am not a designer, so I'm not very versed in all this. The only design I ever get to do is when I'm trying to fix issues like this. So let's go back and refresh. Alright. Let's see if it's in there. Should be in there. unless we screwed up somewhere. In the body, in the container, in the row. No, it's not displaying. Alright, let me go back and check my code. Something's not displaying. Well, the good thing is that we know that we got the correct URL because we did not get a error. So it must be in our views displaying an object. So I'm going to just check to make sure this is all correct. Just bear with me for a second as I read through it. Yeah. I don't know why it's not displaying. Oh, object.lesson. That's not correct. It's object.title. I don't know why I put lesson. There we go. There we go. Introduction to Python. Alright, so we got something displayed. Sorry about that hiccup, but hey, it happens occasionally. Now, let's go back to our view. Alright. Now, you can see this class-based view, which is a generic detail view. All the code that we literally had to write 2 functions to be able to handle our URLs. We had to write 2 functions to handle it going to tutorial series and then to slug. Now, there might be an easier way or a cleaner way to write this, but I just threw this together today. I know it's pretty sloppy, but I believe this is what we need to get to have 2 different variables in our URLs. All right. Now, this is why I hate class-based function views. They I gotta turn this off. They tend to be a little messy when you're trying to do something outside the norm. All right. I'm not saying having 2 variables in the URL is outside the norm, but as you can see, it gets a little hairy. Now, let's go ahead and just leave that as it is and come down and create a... Oh, another thing I would say is I try to... I hate 2 things in this world. Bad drivers and querying the database more than once. All right. If you look here, we query the database twice. We get tutorial series, we hit the database to get the tutorial series. And then down here in object, we hit the database again to get lesson. Now, I tried to shorten this up, but I kept getting errors. So, I don't know why I was getting an error and why I couldn't shorten it up, but I was getting an error. My method I thought would work in the class-based, in get object, apparently wasn't working properly. So that, like I said, really irritates me. If you look up here in this one as well, we are hitting the database twice as well. Now, we don't have to do that. So I'm going to show you right now with a function how we can just hit the database once and how we can do this in a very minimal amount of code. So this is your high performance tutorial in Django. So define lesson underscore detail, and then we're going to give request as an argument, and then tutorial series as an argument, and slug as an argument. Don't forget your colon at the end of your function declaration. And then we're going to use object. And another thing I want to point out is you shouldn't be using object because object is a whatchamacallit, built-in name in Python. So you probably shouldn't be using object. I don't use object like I said in the previous tutorial, but I'm doing this so it's easier, so we don't have to go back and change HTML constantly. So don't use object. Then we're going to do get object 404. Whoops. And then we're going to do lesson dot objects dot filter, and then we're going to say tutorial series underscore underscore slug. So what are we doing here? We're going to the tutorial series and lesson, all right, because we're hitting the lesson model. We're going here, and we're going to tutorial series. Then when we use 2 underscores, we're actually going all the way back up to tutorial series here, and we're getting the slug, okay? Where were views? And then we're going to put a comma, and slug is equal to slug. And this slug has to do, whoops, I forgot to do equal to, this should be equal to tutorial series, all right, to this argument. And slug up here is equal to the slug in lesson, right here, all right. I thought I turned it off. Anyhow. Alright, so we need to just complete this, and it's going to be very simple. If you don't like your code running completely off, you could do something like this. Like that, to make it a little bit cleaner. And then we can do template is equal to, and we're going to say tutorials, because we need to go into the tutorials directory inside the templates. Alright, so it already goes in the templates. Now we just got to say go into the tutorials, and then lesson underscore detail dot HTML, and then the next one we're going to do is context, and then our curly braces, and then in a string we're going to say object colon object. Alright, comma, and then we're going to do return render request template context. Alright, so if you look, we were at 1 function versus 2 functions. If I didn't, bring this down, it would look a lot smaller, and it's pretty easy to read if you think about it. Up here, this gets kind of hairy, like tutorial series objects. So you know you're going to the model, then you're going to objects, then you're going to filter, then you're getting the slug of the tutorial series. And then down here you're doing the 404 tutorial series slug object, and then down here is where it gets a little hairy. You're like self.object. If you're not experienced, you'd be like, what's that mean? Next, then you get self.get object tutorial series slug context self.context data. That's just, to me, is just, I think it's sloppy. But down here, if we do define lesson, you just go, alright, get object to 404. We're getting the lesson objects, and we're filtering the tutorial series foreign key. So then we're going to the slug of the model tutorial series, and we're getting that slug, and then we're coming down and getting the slug of the model slug. And then we're just returning our HTML document, and then we're returning our context, and then we just need to go into our URLs, and we're going to change this view. And we're going to call it, what the hell did we call our view? Oh, that's not views. View is lesson detail. So we're just going to go lesson detail like that. And we have our name over here. Good. Alright, so just go back into your browser and get refresh the page. Well, if my server was running properly. There we go. And we just refresh the page, and there we go. So you guys decide what you like better, class or function-based view. And you know what? Let me know through comments on YouTube. One last thing I want to do real quick is let's go ahead and just design this page so we don't have to come back to it. And I'm also going to go back and delete the view as well, because I will come back later on and say, what the hell is that ugliness above here? So let's just take that view out. Alright. And also with this class-based view up here, we could do the same exact thing we did down here and make it a lot cleaner. Maybe we'll do that in the next tutorial because it is, well, that's up to you guys. Anyhow, let's go to our HTML document, and what we're going to do is, let's make this somewhat nicer. Okay, so we're going to do div class is equal to embedded responsive, and then we're going to do embedded responsive 16 by 9 is high definition, and this is where our video is going to go. So we're just going to do iframe. Alright, class embedded responsive item, and then we need a source, and inside the source, let's just go ahead and do 2 square curly brackets object. You know what, before we even do object, go back to your view real quick, and we'll just call this lesson. The reason I want to change this out because this is not proper coding whatsoever. You shouldn't be using a protected name in Python, so we'll just take that out and change that to lesson because I want us to be proper. Lesson dot video. Alright, and then we're going to come down here and we're going to do div class container, and then we're going to do div class row, and then we're going to do div class page header, and then in here we'll put our title, so h1 tags, and we'll just do curly braces lesson dot title, and outside this row we'll do another, I think we need another row, div class row, and we'll get and throw in our content, so lesson dot content. Save that. Let's go back and refresh, and we should have a better looking page, maybe. Hey, my server, come on, come on. Now I don't have shit. Lesson. We did change the view to lesson. What in the world is going on here? Now what did I jack up? There must be one of those days, man. That all looks right. You know what? Let's change lesson to item for a second. I want to see if, since our model is called lesson, we might be hitting an issue. I don't think so, but back in our lesson.detail, let's do item. Let's wait for my server to wake up. There we go. Refresh. Wow, that's weird. I don't know what the hell's going on here. I don't know if you guys are having the same issue, but I'm going to restart my server and see if that is my issue. This is blowing my mind right now. Oh. I'm missing the end of my iframe here. There we go. There we go. There's our introduction to Python. We didn't have any content for the content, and as you can see, I am an idiot. Anyway, let's go real quick to our lesson. Let's add a video real quick. We're gonna have to change this around a little bit too in the future, but youtube.com. I'm just gonna add a video just to show you what it should look like. Come on. Sorry it's taking so long, especially with my idiotness. Should have caught that. Let's just grab a video here. Share. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab the embedded URL. So you can click to the left here and highlight this URL right here. And back into our lessons, we're going to paste that in here. Originally my plan was to paste that whole iframe in there. But that's not going to work because we got to include a class from Bootstrap. So we're not going to do that. Let's go ahead and refresh this and we should see a video. There you go. So if you guys have any questions, please leave a comment below, and we'll see you in the next tutorial where we do something else. Alright, have a nice day.